Okay, so it's still burning, but very, very weak. I think it's about to be done. I think it's burned for like an hour, which is very, it's impressive because, for much of it was it's burned very, very strong. Certainly, it's an example of enriched fuel. Again, if you want to see videos, there is like several in March and April. I haven't done experiments with enriched fuels in Andrei's place, like after my second arrest during April, because it's more difficult now. When I was still in my mother's apartment in this, first stage of the house arrest, for like a month or two, I had 4 hours a day that I could walk outside freely. So I used that for the burning experiments, and there are also several that I've done in the balcony in my mother's apartment, and you can see some very nice burning, impressive burning. Just a tiny bit of enriched fuel burn very hotly. So what we'll do, and this crucible was I feel that there's a little bit of more oil, so it will continue to burn. This is the medium container that I mentioned. You see that it's, I've used most of the material for other experiments. There isn't much material, there is actually very, very little. A relatively tiny bit was used for this experiment with the tuna can, but you see that not much. But it's mostly done. Most of the volume now is actually the magnet, the huge magnet. This magnet that it was prominent in many experiments in the past, but in the last couple of months, it's just used as passively for in this So yes, it's done now. It's over. So but in the last 2 months or so, it's used just for this container without much electricity. But this actually is very interesting. Big magnet that was used for many electrolysis experiments that were very important. What you see now is mostly ground, or mostly dirt. It's not poo. It looks like poo, but no, it's what you see. This is mostly dirt. It's clay and dirt. Just from the ground. And but we still have little bit of beeswax that is left. This beeswax is extremely potent because it was enriched for a long time. But there isn't much of it. Again, you see, it's almost done, and most of the volume was taken by this very big magnet. Maybe this is mostly dirt, but let's try to burn it anyway. As I've shown you, like a week or 2 weeks ago, in high temperature, actually, the clay and the dirt and the clay they are separated from the beeswax, which is good to separate layers. The wax is floating above the. If a container is allowed, it's floating above the clay, which is good, of course. It's a way to separate that. If needed. Let's search for a better. So this is a little bit of beeswax. Should be very interesting to watch under the microscope, to see what's going on. Even though enriched fuels, they don't show much properties like using just backlight microscopy, with some exceptions. Actually, if you enriched canola oil or just pure oil, relatively pure oils, you actually see something under the microscope. But let's speak about it some other time, or just watch the earlier videos. It's like a subject it's a topic of its own. I don't want to get into it, but mostly you don't see much under the microscope. Other tools, scientific tools, are needed. Certainly, I don't have in my possession, in order to actually evaluate the chemical properties of enriched fuels. It's not only wax. The news can enrich linseed oil, canola oil, and who knows, maybe uranium, maybe petroleum, rocket fuel, I don't know. I use wax because that means, it's like a basic material that is very cheap and cheap, and I use it for all sorts of stuff, and I also use canola oil, but of course, we don't really know, what are their capabilities. I mean, maybe it's like, arguably, it's already like a big step, like, towards the creation of rocket fuel. And this was discussed during March and April. Just watch the videos, and if you don't have access, ask Disney Plus to give you like premium account. So here we have another like bit of like, very dirty, but still, wax that is very rich, probably tremendously rich. It's too dirty now. And I don't have any other tables, that I can use, and this is extremely dirty now and full of stuff, so I cannot use the microscope now, but I should have like, maybe like I should take like a microscopic examination of the wax and show you, how it looks, and also to see if it's actually, you see something, and also of course like how many Neros out there. My assumption is most of the Neros are, as always, they are attracted to the magnet, but still certainly. Let's think about some other time. I don't want to give you some like a half-assed explanation. This is like a huge topic of itself, like the enrichment of fuels. Anyway, let's burn it. This is not fact, this is the mirror actually. A dirty mirror that was used for symbolic purposes in the original construction that is now mostly destroyed because you see it's like the end of this container is almost like empty. It was almost empty even before I started this experiment. You understand? Not much was used for the tuna can. There is also a water layer in the bottom. It's not oil. It's mostly pee actually. I just use pee, my own pee of course. But it should be also interesting to see how this pee looks under the microscope. Maybe I can like dig some more. Like this is probably the best wax. For burning purposes, I'm not sure if for as a medium for the Neros, I'm not sure about it. We should check this. It's not the same thing. Just to clarify, an enriched fuel is not a fuel that is rich with Neros. It's not the same thing at all. Two different things. And there is of course the question of, if the Neros they are done working on the fuel, presumably they can still be used for other purposes. So how can you do it? This question was actually discussed during March and April, and the answer is that I don't have a way to do it. But since April, since then I've discussed, only much later I understood the whole issue, I discovered the whole issue of the creation of the radioactive isotopes, and this question is much more pertinent in this case because what the Israelis are selling abroad is a mixture of both radioactive isotopes and the Neros. They have no way to separate it, and it's not only that I can separate the fuels from the Neros, in this very small room, in this modest, it's an understatement that these are modest conditions. The problem also, exists even if you have the all engineering capabilities of the state behind you, and they don't because they are mostly, pimps and drug dealers, and then pedophile creeps, but. It's actually a very big question, how to separate. I don't have an answer, and probably I cannot give you an answer. Using the tools that I have or don't have. It's a huge question. How can you separate the fuel, whether it's isotopes or enriched wax, from the Neros? So it's impossible. So what I do now, of course, and what I've done during March and April is just I burn everything together. But it's not that it's enriched by the fact that there are many Neros inside of it. It's enriched by the fact that the robots are changing the chemical properties of the wax or the oil or I don't know, presumably rocket fuel or I don't know what, or radioactive isotopes that they can create, of course. This is nice. Yes, I know that this stuff could have saved the life of thousands of, not more, people that will die horrible, painful deaths. But I mean, if it was like they don't care about it, so why should I care? I mean, I don't see an arm or leg moving. I mean, only the mouse and the tongue as usual. So if they don't care, why should I care? I don't need this stuff in order to live. I mean, I'm not addicted to the tea, and I do not need this stuff. This is scientific material. Of course, I would have wanted to sell it and become rich. I need money. I have nothing, but I cannot sell it because I'm a slave, as you know. And under these circumstances, seems reasonable to me, to use it for scientific purposes. In any case, there isn't much a beeswax left. Of course, it could have saved the life of many people, but I mean, you don't care, so why should I care? There is still the water, and the water will also probably be used for burning or an experiment, or a this experiment. Maybe not tonight, but the next couple of days until there is nothing left. And as they say, en chagiga bli uga. Interestingly, after I burned the huge chunk, that was left in the metal container, the water, the big container, that was left, the big chunk, a couple of hours ago, after it was burned, it was the first time, maybe in many months that the pedophile scumbag, Lasha, in the other room, I've actually, walked beside me, actually dressed, with a shirt. It was actually amazing that, he's actually capable of wearing a shirt beside me and not always go naked. And hardly, it's hard to believe that it's a coincidence that it happened after I burned a chunk of wax that could have saved the life of tremendous amount of his operators, female operators, that for some reason do not care at all that this person tortured me for so long. But maybe they cared once they understood that there are no more neros for them in any other way, because no more Venus, no more cannibalism, no more stealing the neros from me or any other person. The only way to get it is from these containers, and these containers it's very quickly done. Yes, we still have the water, but they will also be burned very quickly. And chagiga bli uga, and I don't, no party without a cake, and I really do not need this party. This party is the torture of my life. So, of course, the fact that I burn all this stuff, that doesn't make me released from the prison and does not give me back the ability to raise my daughters or even to see my daughters, but it certainly reduces the torture. And again, miraculously, this pedophile, was wearing a shirt near me, in the first time since, many months. So you see that, sometimes burning stuff has the good effect on the environment. So let's search for some more, actual wax here. It's mostly pee and clay and dirt. Not much wax, but perhaps there's still deposits of yes, here. So here there is a good deposit, yeah. Very nice, you see? This is a good deposit of wax. Maybe you search for another deposit? Yes, the people that are addicted to the tea, which means all the operators and many other people all over the world, rich people and, I don't know, politicians, certainly people of the intelligence agencies, they will die a gruesome death, and this already happened during the 1980s, so it's not kind of a prophecy, it's already happened. This is another bit of wax that is covered with dirt, but still, there's pretty good amount of wax over here, so. Maybe more, yes. There isn't much more, it's mostly dirt. So let's leave it for now, maybe we'll need it later. There isn't much left anywhere. Yes, like the 80s, they died a gruesome death. Mostly it was the same, they only moved the mouse and the tongue. It's not exactly the same, I discussed a lot, the differences. I am not my predecessor. He was a different person, different time, and different circumstances. But the general idea is that people in Earth do not move arm or leg to help the stranger that is tortured in unbelievably cruel prison for so long. So yes, they die. What can you do? But this is purely their decision. It's their decision. As I've said many times, I need to be rescued using arms and legs, using force, not using speech or tongue or any kind of message. no communication is required, and actually any communication is greatly hinders any kind of offer to rescue me and my daughters, assuming such efforts are even in the thought of someone. So it's actually extremely counterproductive to such efforts. Me and my daughters, and of course their mothers should be rescued using force from this Nazi hell, and only once we are outside of the territory of Israel, the conversation should commence again. The movement of the tongue might continue if needed be, but not before that, not before.